All right, welcome back to Edgework here on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show, Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, breaking down all the games for that night, giving best bets and tracking all of them on the BetStamp app in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ. So if you want to stay up to date with our picks, make sure to go over there. If you want to see all of the shows in real time, I highly recommend subscribing here to the Edgework HQ YouTube channel. You can also catch all the videos that we're doing, breaking down some of the trades and rumors around the league, looking ahead to futures markets, as well as our new podcast with David Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein, and Zach Bodenstein that comes out every Wednesday. So new episode dropped yesterday as they look into the trades that could potentially be coming ahead of the trade deadline and some of the futures markets. So make sure to check that out. But no Russ today. Alex filling in. Alex, how you feeling this morning? You ready to go? Join the Thursday crew?
Always ready to go. I'm stepping up to the big leagues. This is an honor. It's an honor to be here right now.
So we will break down each of the games for today. We'll get into our best bets, and we'll start with this Florida-Washington game here tonight. So, Money, when you look at these two teams, Florida is kicking back or trying to push back into a playoff spot here after what was a rough start to the season. They're 2 points out of the playoffs as it stands. They do sit behind the Islanders, who are ahead of them and also out of the playoffs. That they have the same number of games played as them, but you're looking at those wild card spots. They're up for grabs. 2 points back of this Washington team that they are playing here tonight. They've played one more game than Washington, but they're also 3 points back of Pittsburgh, who's holding on to the first wild card spot. If you look at a spot like this, both teams are going to be hungry to get points in this one, as you don't want to kind of let it have a 4-point swing on the standings. Where do you lean towards looking at this game tonight?
So in general, I'm still not sold on Florida. I think that they continue to struggle defensively, which is interesting to me, because the whole point of bringing Paul Maurice in was to shore up their defense, and yet here they are, especially recently, giving up a whole bunch of high danger chances here. In this game, I just don't know if Washington can take advantage of that, or I don't think they're able to generate enough consistent offense here. The Panthers talked about how they didn't have their legs against the Blues. And it showed, but they are the better team right now, especially with the guys that obviously that the Capitals are missing. I would expect Kemper in goal here against Bobrovsky. On the season as a whole, Kemper actually has had better numbers, but Bobrovsky is trending much better lately. So I think that I would give the goaltending advantage to the Panthers here based on current form. I just don't want any surprises from Maurice, but in terms of goaltending, but I am on the Panthers tonight.
And Alex, where do you stand? Are kind of the same mindset here as So Money in this game?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do, and not unfortunately because I don't want to be on the same side as So Money, because it's great being on the same side as So Money, but unfortunately because I need the Panthers to lose hockey games so that the Habs can maybe get a better pick in this draft.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to be losing this one tonight. I mean, I think they're justified as favorites here. Obviously, Ovechkin being out as well really pushes the needle in their direction to towards Florida. But yeah, I mean, so many talked about it. Florida's defense has not been great, but as a team, as a whole, they're playing, better hockey right now. They're kind of trending in the right direction. If I had to, gun to my head, if I had to pick whether or not they'd end up sneaking in and making the playoffs just based on like recent play and form, it's kind of I'd kind of lean towards them finding a way to, sneak into those wild card spots. I think, based on the prices right now, there's minus 115 at Penny. Canby books are at 116. There's a rogue minus 110 out there for Ontario players at Bet Victor, which is a nice number as well. But I'm on the Panthers here. I think that they just kind of match up a bit well, and given the injuries and the absences for Washington, this is a good spot to back Florida to get back into the win column after like a really ugly loss in their last time out.
So I'll ask you. Go ahead, So Money.
Sorry, just to add, we know about Ovechkin. There was an outside chance that Wilson might be in, but he won't be playing either. He didn't do any line rushes. That just came down a couple of minutes ago.
Okay, so keep an eye out for that, as I'm sure at some point here, So Money will get the normal breaking news type moment where we get a goalie announcement or something that happens. That is, it wouldn't be a Thursday show without that being the case. I was just gonna ask, you're looking at the Eastern playoffs, specifically the wild card spots here. Washington has kind of fallen a little bit. I mean, they are on a 2-game losing streak right now, and over the last little while hasn't been that great. The Islanders did go and make a move for Bo Horvat. Seems like they may not be done. It's probably not going to be another big move, but it might just be little pieces around. Florida's starting to make a push now, and a lot of that is being carried by Matthew Tkachuk, who's on pace to have a career year there in Florida.
A little bit better than Huberdeau this year, eh?
Just a bit.
A little bit better than Huberdeau, yeah. But you kind of watch this. You watch these playoffs teams or teams outside the playoffs starting to make a push here. Do you think a team like Florida could kind of hop in? Would it be both Pittsburgh and Washington, maybe just Washington? Like, if you're looking at that Eastern playoff picture, I don't know, Alex or So Money, whoever, if either of you have an opinion on that, but just looking at the playoffs, if you were to look at one of these teams who's maybe outside looking in, the Islanders, the Panthers, the Sabres, do you think there's any likelihood of them being able to jump over Pittsburgh's and Washington?
I think that Detroit and Buffalo, they're nice stories. They're fun teams to watch, but ultimately, I think that they fall short. I think that the Panthers fall short. It does, in my opinion, come down to two of Islanders, Penguins, or the Caps, and I think I favor Penguins just because they're going to get a dramatic upgrade in their goaltending once Tristan Jarry comes back. And then between the Islanders and the Caps, I think it comes down to whoever's healthy.
Yeah, I agree on the Penguins. Obviously, with Jarry too, but I think they're just such a well-coached team too that I do think they ultimately will figure it out. They have all those games in hand right now over the teams around them, and they have a lead in points. So I think they're somewhat safe, as safe as one can be in this position to make the playoffs. I hope the Islanders make it in. I would like to see them get in there, but some really ugly losses lately. It's hard to buy into this team right now. I mean, the way Florida's been trending, like if they can get the goaltending, at least like a solid baseline level over the rest of the season, I can see them sneaking in. Hope they don't, obviously, but right now I actually do think Florida's going to make it. I don't think that the Buffalo's a threat whatsoever. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago on Edgework. I just do not see them being a threat at all. They don't play good teams well. They beat up on the bad teams, and for the most part, they lose the team to the teams they should lose to. So I don't really see them getting in there. But their window is just starting to open, so there are better days ahead for that team.
Yeah, I did bet Buffalo plus 550 to make the playoffs, but I would sell that for pennies on the dollar right now. I don't think they're going to do anything here.
Yeah.
Fair enough. A game between Winnipeg and Columbus here tonight, where we're looking at Winnipeg, who's second in the Central right now, 2 points back of Dallas for that first spot. They have a game in hand on them. They're 6 points up of Colorado as it stands right now. They have played one more game than them, but you're looking at Winnipeg. They continue to just pick up points, pick up wins. They're 5-5 in their last 10, but on a 3-game win streak right now. Kind of correct the ship a little bit. 14-11-1 on the road, but despite that, they are going in to face a Columbus team who is last in the NHL. They are 3-5-2 in their last 10. Obviously, every team in the NHL is capable of finding ways to win games or at least pick up some points, but Alex, if you're looking at Winnipeg here on the road on this 3-game win streak, is this just another spot for them to continue what they've been doing and pick up another win here against Columbus tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bet the Blue Jackets with your money. I'll put it that way. I have no interest in them whatsoever, especially not at this price. I'm also not really, rushing to lay anything with Winnipeg right now. So this is pretty much just a stay away game for me. I could maybe be talked into an over, but I mean, it's also possible that, the Blue Jackets don't exactly generate the most offense. They're pretty much like bottom 5 in the league in that regard. And then you got Hellebuck in net. So it's kind of hard for me to get on that either. So it's just pretty much a full stay away game for me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I like Alex. I could make a case for the over, but Korpisalo is confirmed in net for Columbus now, and he's just one of those guys who's got such a huge range of outcomes, and it's just not something I'm interested in. We will cheer for the Blue Jackets tonight, obviously, but it's not a game that I'll be betting on.
All right. And then a team that you would be likely cheering for to be no points in this one, a runaway game if you could get it, would be Montreal heading on the road to take on the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. Montreal 5-4-1 in their last 10 on a little bit of a heater right now, despite trying to sit down everybody they possibly can to lose as many games as they can.
Sorry, Alex.
So rough.
3-game win streak for the Canadians. Going into Carolina to face what's been a very good Carolina team, first in the Metro right now. Doesn't matter, Pacioretty, no Pacioretty. They continue to buzz along here, 8-1-1 in their last 10, 17-6-2 at home. Obviously, we'd be looking at a spot where we'd, if you're a Habs fan, you'd like the Habs to lose tonight, but another big favorite dog kind of situation like what we've seen over the past couple of days where you're starting to see these separate themselves a little bit more. Would there be any spot for you, so money tonight in this game between these two teams that you would look to play?
Probably not. We cheer for Montreal here as well. Ranta is confirmed for Carolina, but he's not going to move the needle here for me. So this is another game where we sit it out. But go Habs.
Yeah, I mean, they keep winning, and we just talked about teams to make the playoffs in the East. We didn't talk about the juggernaut that is Montreal right now. That they can't lose a game, and they keep trying to counteract that by adding more guys on injured reserve. Now you got Jack out indefinitely, who joins Monahan, Edmondson, Jake Evans, Slavkovsky, Gallagher, Goalie. The list kind of goes on. They're Caulfield, obviously, too. Like, they're just putting everyone they can on IR right now, and then they're going to start trading some guys. So it's going to be, hopefully, the worst is yet to come for this team, because I can't, keep watching the Harvey Pinards and Alex Belzils of the world, turn this into a good team again. It just doesn't make sense. This seems like a very good spot for them to just get completely run over. I mean, I'm not betting anything in this game, but I'm not going to lay that price on a -1.5 either, but that would be pretty much my only look. I think that this is a matchup where the Habs could get absolutely steamrolled.
All right, thoughts on this then? Because last night, Alex B. Smith on the Wednesday show played the Blackhawks to win in regulation against the Leafs. A lot of that was just kind of a flyer based on what the price was, because it kind of got to a ridiculous range. This one isn't maybe necessarily ridiculous per se, but it is a big number that you'd have to lay on Carolina in this situation, either if you're playing them just on the money line, if you played them on a spread. We're even seeing some of these books getting out to -2.5 right now if you look around. Is there kind of spots where you guys would look to and just say, all right, this number is just too absurd, you got to get in, you got to play this now? Because yesterday with that Chicago Leafs game, you're seeing some books offering plus 600 just money line straight up. And then that kind of gets to a point of like, hey, these are still NHL players. They are paid to play. Anything could happen. When you guys are looking at games, I mean, so many, you look at a game, you sit there and you say, all right, this number's just too ridiculous. You got to play on it.
Yeah, I do, and I always say every team has a price, right? Like at some point, you should be willing to bet any team if that price is right. I did play the Blackhawks last night. It just felt like an obscene number, and the reason I make those plays is the same reason why I bet Canucks futures to win the Stanley Cup every year. I just wouldn't be able to forgive myself if the one year that I don't play it and they do win the cup. So, um, if they ever do win the cup, I'll still be down like throughout my lifetime. But um, but at least I was on them when they won the cup. So it's like the Blackhawks. They just got obscene last night. So um, yeah, I would make those bets.
You say that a lot of the players, these are still NHL players, but actually a lot of the players in Montreal's lineup right now can confirm are not NHL players and should not be NHL players. Starts first and foremost with Chris Weidman, who I can't stand. But
he is signed like supposed to be NHL player.
Yeah, he's supposed to be an NHL player. He might be the least NHL caliber player on their roster right now. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like somebody said, there's definitely a range where you'll get in on anyone. But you look at like the teams Montreal's beaten lately. This monumental 3-game win streak, which seems like I think it's like their first 3-game win streak since like October. But yeah, the Islanders, Edmonton, Chicago, Carolina's just different from those teams. They don't give up nearly as much, and they're just going to control play consistently. I don't think Montreal is going to be able to generate really anything right now. So I would need a pretty sizable number to get in on them here.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I just think it's interesting, especially as we go down the stretch and we're going to watch teams sit guys out and we're going to watch players get traded or end up with injuries and stuff like that you see. You're going to start to see more and more of these big prices, I would imagine, because teams like Carolina, Toronto, Boston, they're not going to sit guys out. But on the other side, Chicago's, Montreal's, they might. There's a question here from Brian Flynn. For your betting career, what's the biggest number you guys have bet on a favorite, not including moneyline parlays? If you guys know that, then I think that would be pretty interesting.
I think I remember laying like a minus, like I think I've gotten to like minus 280, minus 300, and just in the NHL, I think I've done that definitely before. Trying to remember if I've ever gone higher than that. I don't know about you, so money.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There was a game nearing the end of the season a couple of years ago where I laid a minus 300.
Was that the game where I think someone basically ended up like starting like an entire AHL lineup almost? Yeah. I think it was against the Bruins, or it was the Bruins that started. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I think I remember what you're talking about.
It wasn't that Bruins Washington game because that was like that was a 2-1 game where they scored in like the last minute and
they struggled to win that game.
Yeah, so like it's funny about that game, like that was actually the biggest play that I've ever made in my life. And I started early in that game. I think it moved from like there was a point they were plus money and it moved all the way to like minus 200 or something. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't that game. It was a couple of years ago, and I did win, but like it was like one of those things where like I just had to, like that was like it was a completely like AHL lineup, like top to bottom, goaltenders, everything. I just can't remember for the life of me which game that was.
I know, yeah, no. I mean, look, we said it. There's a price on everyone, right? Like there's times where you're going to have a big favorite and you think they should be bigger favorites. So there's, you're going to lay it. But the thing with that is it's like, it's always sweaty. It's never comfortable. It's never fun. You just want to like get in there, get out, and just pray that it goes your way, because it is an ugly sweat when you do that.
And especially the way that Boston Washington game went. Like,
that one, yeah.
Another question here as well. Rich H asking, Montreal's 0-8 in their last 8 in Carolina, but Carolina's next game is their big outdoor game. Is this a possible trap scenario? Would you guys look at it that way, Alex?
I don't think so. I think this is, I mean, there's 2 points available in the outdoor game. There's 2 points available in this game. I don't think it's necessarily a trap scenario. I mean, Carolina's just too good of a team, I think, to get sort of dragged into that. They're in a little bit of a race still, obviously, with New Jersey for top spot. I don't think they're going to slip up against basically AHL caliber lineup in Montreal. So I wouldn't necessarily look at it that way as they're looking ahead to that and it's some massive game. I mean, if that was like if we're talking about like they're playing the Devils next game and we're in like game 80 of the season and that's going to be for the division, you could maybe consider something like that. But just for like a regular outdoor game where 2 points, same as tonight, it doesn't really factor in for me.
All right.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like maybe another team, but not a team that's that gets up for games that like Carolina does.
And Jordan Mosul saying, Auntie, and Nets. All right. We will move on here. More games on the schedule, more games we have bets in. So one that I know we didn't have necessarily a consensus best bet in, but it's going to be an interesting game tonight nonetheless, is Boston-Nashville. Boston right now obviously first in the NHL. They continue to pick up points. They kind of started to finally show some form of humanity over the last little while, but started to go back to where they were prior to that point, where they looked unstoppable. They are 6-3-1 in their last 10, 18-6-2 on the road, but facing off against a Nashville team here who not completely out of the playoffs yet. They are 5 points out of a spot, but they do have 3 games in hand on the Calgary Flames as it stands right now, 6-4 in their last 10. Kind of interesting to watch what's going on there because you hear they might be selling, you hear that they might be making moves, might be trading a guy like Fabro in there, Dante Fabro, but kind of if in a position like this where maybe you could make the playoffs and you do have a goalie who could steal what games for you and get hot at the right time, kind of up in the air of where they could be, pick up a couple wins, pick up some points, and all of a sudden you're looking at it like, hey, we got a shot ahead of the deadline. If you're looking at a spot here where Boston is on the road against Nashville, so money, would you kind of lean towards Boston kind of continuing their dominance? Would you maybe look at a spot where Nashville is in a good position here to get themselves closer and closer to a playoff spot? Like, how do you break down a game like this?
So with a game like this, obviously there's a huge difference in these teams. I've made it no secret that I'm not high on Nashville as well, and for all intents and purposes, they are out of the playoffs. They're not going to make it.
Yeah.
But I think that this number was line fair. You are seeing Boston like start to lose a couple of games, but it's just one of those things. The way that they started the season, they were on pace for like 5,000 points, right? Like it's just not going to continue, right? At some point, like you are going to start losing games, whether you deserve to or not. So I'm not worried about Boston. I think that this that the game has been lined fairly, and I'm not rushing to Nashville either.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their recent schedule too. They've kind of gone through a bit of a gauntlet. So I think that this, losing streak of like losing what is like 4 of their last 6, which is not even, that much of a losing streak. But like they went from Tampa, Florida, Carolina, Toronto, all on the road. They played Washington, then they went back to at Dallas. That's a brutal schedule. So to come through that with, 5 points still, I mean, their numbers, haven't dropped off. I mean, this is just, this is game is line well. I have no interest in betting it. I do have interest in potentially watching it. I do think Nashville's going to be out of the playoffs, but great goaltending matchup. I think Nashville just doesn't really match up well in the sense where they give up a lot. They kind of rely on Saros to sort of bail them out with all the, with all the kind of high danger chances and stuff that they give up. And Boston's not exactly a team you want to be doing that against because Boston's not going to give you much the other way, which is kind of what they need to score goals because they don't generate a ton of offense. I mean, they generate a decent amount of offense, but like their conversion of that is kind of low. So going up against Boston, just kind of a bad matchup for them. And I successfully bet against the Predators on last week's show, and that's probably the last time I ever want to do that again, because I think I was like 0-12 on Nashville games this season. So I got that win in the bag, and now I'm just going to pack up and move on.
Yeah,
Yeah, fair.
and this actually brings me to I was looking at the Vezina market the other day, and like Allmark is like he's he's a he's like the favorite right now. But I'm looking at Boston's schedule, and I wonder if the lack of starts that Allmark gets will eventually
Mhm.
hinder him, because it seems like Swayman and him tend to split starts now. So um, I I don't know if you can win the Vezina when you haven't um, played like the majority of your team's games, right? So
Yeah, that's
I
a good.
think
And they're.
looking at the yeah
Oh,
yeah
sorry.
I think
Yeah,
yeah I think looking at the Vesna market would be like I've been monitoring that. I don't think Allmark should be the heavy favorite right now.
and they're gonna wrap up the division like
Yeah,
relatively early. So like they have no reason to just run Allmark into the ground. They're gonna be splitting even more down the stretch. So like I don't know. That's a good point. I don't think he will get enough games to justify the what is he's like minus, but he's like minus 170, minus 150 or something like that right now.
yeah,
Like depending
I've
where
seen
you
like
look.
minus 200s here.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
incredible.
so who would be the guy to catch him, I guess, would be the question. I mean, there's definitely a few candidates that I think you could make a case for.
Yeah, I would actually be looking at a guy like a Hellebuck right now. I think that Winnipeg has a story behind them now in terms of their turnaround. So that would be the guy that I'd be looking at.
Yeah, and I mean, plus 450, plus 500s around. There's a case for Sorokin too if
Yep.
he's able to get them into the playoffs, I think. But at that point, you're kind of relying on the team as well to get in there. Whereas Winnipeg is pretty much cemented into a playoff spot right now, so you feel a bit more comfortable with that. And they're pretty much lined around the same price. So I would probably agree that it makes more sense to go with Hellebuck there.
Rich H asking Vasi Vasilevsky here. Would that be a look at all, or does the team in front of him kind of diminish some of his value or a possibility of actually winning a Vezina Trophy here because the team is so good? And it's not like he had the most like outstanding start to the season. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad start by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't a knock you off your socks or out of your socks kind of start. Would there be any look at Vasilevsky to win the Vezina?
What is he at now? He's at plus 1600, 1700.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think he's got the narrative behind him. I think that the team holds him back, and for all the reasons that you mentioned there, Zach. So I you could possibly take a flyer, but I don't think that he's going to be there in the end.
Yeah,
If you want to take a little bit of a longer shot, I could see. I mean, it's not nearly as long as Vasilevsky, but Ottinger is a guy who, if they go on and win the division and he continues playing the way he is, then I mean, there's definitely a case for him to win it too. I think right now he's fifth in the league in goal saved above expected, and that's the thing for Sorokin. I mean, Sorokin is first in the league, like running away with
Mhm.
the most amount of goals saved above expected. He's at 36.8. Next best is Saros at 28. Allmark's down fourth at 25. So, I mean, there's Sorokin just kind of catches my eye. I would just like a little bit of a better price there, just because you probably need the Islanders to make the playoffs in order for him to win that. And I agree, Sam Montembeau. Sam Montembeau's making a hell of a case right now, especially when they trade Jake Allen at the deadline, and but they just ride Montembeau to a playoff spot over the last 2 months of the season.
yeah, that's what you need. All right, let's get to some games that we do have some best bets in here. We got a bunch as we close this one out. The games later in the night we'll have all the plays in. So, Alex, we'll start with you in the New Jersey, St. Louis game. New Jersey right now second in the Metro, 3 points back at Carolina, 3 points up on the Rangers. That whole spot is very tight. You kind of look at the East. You know what teams are going to be in it in the Atlantic and in the Metro. It's just a matter of what order they're going to finish in and who's going to play who. So you're watching these New Jersey, New York, Carolina games pretty closely as they move up and down and kind of close gaps or open them up even more. New Jersey, good spot here. It's 7-1 and 2 in their last 10 on the road. They've been incredible this year, 23-3 going in to face a St. Louis team who is 4-6 in their last 10. But mind you, they are on a 2-game win streak with wins over the Arizona Coyotes and the Florida Panthers. Why would you be looking to back a team like St. Louis tonight against the New Jersey team who has been very good on the road?
I mean, New Jersey hasn't been playing great hockey lately, though. They started off the season just on an absolute tear, and people were talking about how they're going to win the cup, and they're putting up these insane, numbers. Like you knew it had to come back down, and it's come back down maybe even more so than I was expecting. I mean, like it's small sample size, but over the last 10 games, they're at a 43% expected goal share. They've just not been the same New Jersey team that we saw earlier in the season. And then you look at their numbers last year, which are kind of more in line with what we've seen over the second half of the season from them. So I think that was a bit of an outlier early on. And St. Louis is playing a little bit better. I mean, Buchnevich is back, O'Reilly's back now, and we saw the boost those guys gave to their lineup in the last 2 games. So for me, this was just I bet it at plus 140 when there were some plus 140s earlier at Penny, and those kind of went away. Plus 135, the can be still. I mean, I'm fine with that. Like North Star, I still like that. The things I will say though, now you kind of want to monitor is that Jack Hughes might return to the lineup tonight. It's possible that he's going to be back in there. I don't know if we have the So Money News bot, if he has anything on that yet. And also Torrey Krug. Torrey Krug is questionable, so Torrey Krug might not play. For me, I'm not relying on Hughes missing and Krug playing in order to keep betting this. I think that if just one of those things happen, I might even add a little more. I'll be still comfortable getting on it at this price. But yeah, I mean, if Hughes doesn't play and Krug does play, this is will become an even bigger play for me. But I think the price is just a little bit off here. Blues are getting healthier. Devils kind of coming back down to earth. A little bit of the line is just a little bit too much respect for New Jersey, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do agree with Alex for the most part. We are on Mackenzie Blackwood watch here as well. I think this would be a game where they kind of get him in there. So I do like the over, but I haven't bet it yet. I'm just waiting for some. I need Blackwood in there, and I doubt that Hughes plays. But if he does, if there's outside chance that he gets in there, then I'll definitely be on the over. But if we get a Blackwood confirmation, then I will be there.
All right, so stay tuned for goalie news and see if you get the Mackenzie Blackwood go ahead, and maybe it'll happen by the time we finish this show up, and So Money will give us that notification when it does happen. And Insight here has been pretty on the ball for the injury news that you're throwing out earlier. Jake DeBrusk probable, Forsberg questionable, and then here Jack Hughes questionable, upgraded to questionable Thursday versus St. Louis. So keeping us up to date in the chat, giving us insight on what's going on around the NHL. Another game here, So Money, I know you have some opinions on, and I'll just more so leave it to you in this one. Detroit heading to Calgary to take on the Flames. Flames have been relatively disappointing so far this season. Now you're hearing news, which, I mean, I'll just say I personally can't understand the idea of trading Mackenzie Weegar from Calgary, but you're hearing news now that maybe Calgary would have some type of inclination to do so. Where are you staying on this Calgary Flames team right now? Because So Money, throughout the course of this year so far, you and I have had different conversations of it where it started like, don't panic on the Flames. Okay, maybe the Flames aren't what we thought they were. Now they're getting it together. Now, where do you stand on them as you look at this?
So I've run the whole course on the Flames here, and I'm at the position now where it's like, yeah, it's time to panic, which means we'll probably reel off 5 straight wins here.
Yeah.
But in a Western Day here, the Canucks rightfully take the brunt of all the jokes here, but the Flames are a mess. They're a low case right now, and it starts with Daryl Sutter and just his stubbornness, with just continuing to go with Jacob Markstrom, who just doesn't have it for whatever reason. Maybe not being with Ian Clark anymore, like the change in game, like maybe Connor McDavid broke him in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I think that's
He
what happened.
Yeah, like he just doesn't have it. Um and for a coach like Sutter, who um who should be relatively secure in his in whatever he wants to do in this league, for him to not make that goalie change and go with Dan Vladar as your as your starting goaltender, it's just inconceivable to me. And we're seeing that in Minnesota as well. Dean Evison had a quote last night about while Fleury has been good too. Well, he hasn't, and he's not your best option there. So it's just one of those things where just make the change. Like, nobody's gonna go and fire Daryl Sutter because he's benching Markstrom. So it's not like in the NFL where like you got these guys who are so resistant to like making change and like don't want to rattle cages and stuff. It's not like that with Daryl Sutter. He can easily go in and make the change, and nobody would say shit to him. So
Mhm.
um I don't get it. Like, just make the change. And Vladar gives you better chances to win the game. And I see their price right now. Like, there's no way I'm betting Calgary at that number,
Oh,
right? Even with Detroit on a back to back, right? And like and their long their shootout game last night. So it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what Sutter is doing.
Yeah, and I'm seeing here in the chat, Andrew Coots saying no idea how you play the Flames right now as big favorites. That would be something for me as well. Looking at that team, it would just be a stay away spot. But Insight saying Wings emptied the tank last night in Edmonton. Hellberg projected starter for Wings. Would that have any type of impact for you? So money on this?
Oh, I think that's already baked into the line. We see what this Calgary number is. That's with Hellberg starting and Detroit on a back to back. So at this point, I think that those two elements have already been accounted for. So you're looking for to make a case for either team. You're looking for something else that you feel has not been in this line. Because if Detroit's not on a back to back and if Husso's starting, then there's no way that Calgary is this number right now.
yeah.
Right.
I wanted to be on an under just because of like the fact that the Wings play such low event hockey and the
Yeah.
Flames don't give up a ton. And now obviously with the back to back, but like with the goaltending matchup of Markstrom and Hellberg, there's just no way I can
Yeah.
stomach that. So I just want no part of this game whatsoever.
So money. There's a game here tonight that you do have a play in, or you were looking to make a play in between two Western teams, San Jose and Vegas. San Jose right now potentially could just be moving on from a bunch of guys. We're looking at it, them with four goaltenders over the last couple of days up on their roster, so they're getting ready to make some moves potentially here. Some guys seeing Timo Meyer, Eric Carlson getting calls on. This Vegas team is a team that very well could be calling about a guy like Timo Meyer, as they did put Mark Stone on IR. Looks like he will be out for the remainder of the regular season. Opens up about $9 million in cap space for them. What would you be looking at between these two teams, San Jose and Vegas tonight? So money.
I do have interest in this game. Vegas, on the surface, looks like they're starting to turn it around, but we need to temper that with their recent wins have been against Minnesota, Nashville, and Anaheim. So that doesn't say much. And as funny as it sounds, in their current forms, playing the Sharks is actually a step up in class for Vegas, based on how the Sharks have been playing. And of course, the problem with the Sharks all season has been their goaltending. Aaron Dell has actually been above average his most form, which is a significant upgrade than from like whatever uh, Kakinen has been providing these guys. But um, of course, we're always we're constantly on Timo Meyer and or Eric Carlson watch here. I am interested in the Sharks, but um, I would like to wait and see to make sure I'm not betting on Kakinen, and I don't want to get caught with my pants down with like Timo Meyer and Eric Carlson get traded today, and like I'm sitting there with the Sharks ticket. So if they do drift a bit, I will be on the Sharks, but I need those elements to be in my favor before I make a bet on them.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. We're starting to see a lot of players like not even traded, but just get scratched for trade
Yeah.
related reasons that are on the block. So the last thing you want to do is get on the Sharks right now, and then you find out at an hour before game time that Timo Meier and Erik Karlsson are not going to play,
Yeah.
or one of them's not going to play. That's tough. The Sharks have been playing really well. I do agree with you completely there. But goaltending just terrifies me. Every time you back the Sharks, you're just asking for some pain because you can outshoot a team or outplay a team for 60 minutes and somehow lose 6-3. So
Yeah, and I think it's a problem when you're hoping for an Aaron Dell confirmation.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is a problem.
And
But it
then
is Sharks.
here,
Sharks are nothing for me here too.
Insight saying James Reimer questionable, Capo Kakinen questionable as well. So there you go.
Might get
With
my Aaron Dell.
Yeah, their talent is questionable too.
Yeah. All right, final game of the night. We do have a play in here. Philadelphia heading to Seattle to take on the Kraken tonight. Philadelphia, 2-game losing streak, having lost to Nashville and in their most recent loss to Seattle 4-3. 11, 9, and 7 on the road so far this year. This Seattle team holding on to the third spot in the Pacific, 1 point back of the Kings, 2 point back of the Vegas Golden Knights, tied with Edmonton for points right now. They got a game in hand on them. Alex, what are you looking at between the Flyers and the Kraken that you would have a play on?
Yeah, so I am on the Flyers here. We're going to get Carter Hart tonight after, Sandstrom went on Sunday. So that's obviously a massive upgrade in goal. But realistically, it's kind of similar to what I talked about with New Jersey. Is that the Kraken? They started the season so well, and their numbers for the first 2 months, they were like a top 5, top 7 team, and a lot of these underlying metrics and expected goal share and whatnot. But they've kind of really come crashing back down to earth, and now they're a lot more in line with their numbers from last season. Since January 1st, I mean, it's a small sample size, but the Flyers have a better expected goal share. So I just think that they're still a very decent team, the Flyers, and they're not posting great numbers or anything, but they play a lot of competitive games. And just the way that the Kraken are trending right now, I think that when you're getting Carter Hart and net, I think that this is just the gap isn't as big between these two teams as the standings or this line suggests. So for me, at getting this price on Philly, I'm not sure what's available right now. I'm not sure if it's
175 right now.
Yeah. I mean, 170 is fine by me too. I like the Flyers tonight for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with Alex. I think and one of the worst bets I've made all season was I bet the Flyers to have the worst record in the NHL this year, and of course they came out. they won their first 3 games, and it's just they're not that bad of a team, and they're not playing that poorly. They just don't have that next level talent to kind of carry them in games where they're not at their best. So I do like the Flyers here. Alex mentioned it with Seattle. I think they peaked too early, and now they're back to what they should be. One thing I will say in goal though is that I do want to see Martin Jones in net for Seattle. Grubauer has been a significant upgrade on him this year, so I will be on the Flyers, and I will probably add if we get a Martin Jones confirmation.
And the thing, just to your point too, you said that the Flyers, they're a decent team. They just lack that high end talent, to carry them through those games. You kind of say the same thing about the Kraken, right? So it's kind of a decent matchup for them because the Kraken also don't have that elite. They're a bit of a deep team, but they don't have that elite skill up front where they're kind of relying on just contributions from all 3 or 4 lines to get their scoring. So they're not going to have some game breaker going in there and then taking this one over either. So it's just a good spot, and it's just way too big of a price in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for today's show. If you want to track all the picks, to see all the picks that were made on today's show, make sure to go over to the BetStamp app. You can find us in the Find Bettors section as Edgework HQ. See all the picks that we've made. Had a little bit of a rough day yesterday, so hopefully we'll bounce back here today, get things back on the right track. Still up 44 units on the year, but you go 1-4 and you want to get it back on the rails. So you don't want that to continue on as we head towards the playoffs here. Get in the right mindset as we get to those playoffs. But thank you so much to everyone who tuned in here today. Greatly appreciate it. If you were watching on YouTube and you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. You get notified every time we go live Monday through Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. You also get notified every time new videos drop breaking down conference futures, division futures, Stanley Cup futures, trades, rumors, all that kind of stuff, as well as our new podcast with David Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein, and Zach Bodenstein every Wednesday. So new episode did drop yesterday, and if you missed it in real time, you can find it on all podcasting platforms. Alex, So Money, thank you guys for your time today. Thank you for the insights. I will see everyone back here tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Good luck with your bets tonight.